Are you? Hello again. I think the best bet is just to point this down until they're back so they don't think that I'm trying to show the news stories. You know, actually, I'm going to switch over to the Court TV one instead. Back to staring at the fan. Yeah, we have a fan sticker now in the comments too. I don't like it though, but you guys wanted it, so you got it. Do you guys have any idea how hard it is to take a screenshot of a fan that moves that fast? It's not easy. So this is what I got out of it. Those two variations. So that is our ceiling fan sticker. Hi again. I mean, the ceiling fan, I mean, it is a thing. It really is. It's become our only thing to stare at for most of this trial because it's always on a damn break. House long to defense. There we go. House long to defense. I know, but you guys said you wanted the fan sticker, so I did it this morning. It took a while because it's not easy to get that still picture. Not one bit, but it's more what it represents. I did two different sizes because I wanted to show you guys, because I know that you guys don't see two sizes, but tell me which one you guys like better, the first one or the second one that I just put up. Thank you, Bia. I wanted to do that so you guys could tell me if you liked it closer or further away, because it does crop off part of the fan. Okay, then that's what I'll edit it to after the live. That is what I would edit it to. I know. I agree, Janet. I agree. Hi, Crystal. Welcome back. You guys do know that that vehicle can't reverse at that speed, right? Did you guys also know that that specific vehicle, when you're in park, lowers down 2 inches to the ground, and when it's not in park, it raises up 2 inches? They don't either, clearly, because that would throw everything off. Everything. That specific vehicle lowers 2 inches when it's in park and raises 2 inches. They didn't put that into account either. Can I borrow it? Just kidding. He clearly doesn't know. I mean, look at all the work he put in. He painted his arm blue and everything. It also has the sensors too. The ding, ding, ding. Yeah, they have that too. I feel bad that I had to restart because now we have over 300 people that need to find their way back. not only did he buy the exact car that Karen has, but he also bought the exact car that John has, the exact SUV. So, and when the case is over, he's going to sell them, and whatever he doesn't make, because it has to be equal to what he got when he bought it, or what he paid to buy them, and if they don't get enough, then the Commonwealth has to reimburse them. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, that's probably the problem. When I get reported, it kicks me off the FYP. I think that's one of the reasons people go out and blind report people. It's so mean and so rude, but do what we gotta do. So if you guys are not following over on YouTube, make sure you guys go subscribe there, because if for any reason I ever go dark here, that's where I'll be. It's weird because on the screen, the fan looks like it's moving slow, but I'm seeing it move faster on my computer. So it's really weird. Will you message that to me? But it's not just the vehicles. Do you want to know how they're paying Aperture $400,000? $400,000 to Aperture for 8 months of work. Yeah, guys, if you could help tap, that would help too. On this side, though, is where you gotta tap. Greatly appreciated. I'll do it until we start, because it makes my screen bounce, but I'll do it until we start. Team effort, team effort. Thank you, Robbie. He is, and he has been. Today, he's been excellent. He's been on his game. But see what he did there, the witness, before Alessi could say anything or ask his name, he wanted Alessi to introduce himself to him as a witness. I have never seen that done like that before. Ever. Ever, ever. My jaw about hit the floor. I could not believe the audacity he had. Acting like he just wants to be buddies. It was so weird. And then him saying that he wants him to hurry up, because the defense didn't get to cross until today. He thought he was going to throw him off of his game. You don't know our second husband. We do. You cannot throw that man off his game. No, no, no. Not like that. Guys, I know that my sticker shows up at weird spots for everybody. If it ever shows up on the monitor, please tell me and I'll move it. For me, it's down at the bottom. So I just need you guys to tell me if you need it moved again. I know, exactly. Exactly. I mean, yeah. Lower. That's as low as it goes on my side. Here, let me try this. Is that better? For me, it's on the bottom of the screen. Nope, they're just getting back right now.
Go ahead, Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
It's weird that it shows me it's in one spot and shows you guys a different spot. Thank you, Connie. It's in the middle of the screen now. Sweet cheese and crackers. Is that better? No, prosecution is not rested.
Good afternoon, Dr. Welcher.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you again.
If you guys miss any of this, I do put the live up on my YouTube after I'm done. So yesterday's live was up pretty quick after we ended yesterday.
Right. We had left off talking about some examples of
Thank you,
Newton's
Rosella.
second law and the application of it in the parlance of force equals mass times acceleration. And
Okay, thank you.
I now want to continue on with that discussion. It is correct that you can conduct a force analysis on any part of the body, correct?
I mean, it's more difficult on internal with live people. Like if you wanted like my appendix, I really necessarily couldn't.
Let's talk about the musculoskeletal system, the outside bones. You can conduct a force analysis
So the
on
bones
any
are
bone.
on the inside.
Sir, if I could finish my question, please.
Okay.
You can conduct a force analysis on any bone in the body, correct?
More or less, yes.
So the force analysis I use as a synonym with Newton's second law is not exclusive to the head, correct? You can do it on other bones in the body, correct?
Correct.
This guy has me using my expression lines. Gotta stop that.
On direct examination, your direct examination here, you did not present a force calculation representing what you allege to be contact between the vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, did you?
Correct.
And nowhere in your report do you present a force calculation for Mr. O'Keefe's right arm.
Not sure yet,
do you?
Lauren.
Correct. We didn't have enough information to do.
Haven't used it long enough.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Now, given that you stated that, quote, determining the effects of physical forces on the human anatomy, end quote, is the job of a biomechanical engineer,
Use these though.
you must have conducted several force calculations related to accidents involving humans in your career, correct?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Now, you didn't present a force calculation in your materials, as you've stated on direct, with regard to the arm, and I'll include in the right arm going from the shoulder all the way to the tip of the hand, okay? So that's my definition of a right arm. You didn't present any force calculation on that part of the body of Mr. O'Keefe, did you?
Correct.
Good afternoon.
Assume, and we're going to apply Newton's second law. Assume Mr. O'Keefe's hand weighed 7 pounds. So that's the M in the F equals MA.
That's not a good assumption.
Well, what number would you like to apply
Oh my
for
God.
an M for the hand of Mr. O'Keefe? I'll take any number you got,
Just the hand?
just the hand.
Oh, the whole arm of Mr. O'Keefe weighs approximately 12 pounds.
Okay, fair enough. So the whole arm is either from the shoulder down to the tip of the fingers is about 12 pounds, right?
Correct.
Okay. So assume that the Lexus
Mine
SUV
too.
was traveling at 20 miles an hour. All right? Under your theory going backwards, 20 miles an hour. And the third variable I'd like to give you is to assume an impact window of 10 milliseconds.
Sure has.
Okay.
Can you calculate the G's of force from that data?
You need more information.
Well, let me ask you this. What more information would you need?
So we talked about the glancing impact.
I'm talking about a force calculation of an impact, not as to whether it's glancing or not.
So you want a direct head-on impact in the arm, not a glancing hit to where the Lexus comes in,
Oh my
hits the
God.
arm, and they continue off together?
I'd like to start with that, but just so we can hopefully expedite it for the jury.
Okay.
I'm going to want to get to what you have depicted in your diagram of having pulling the arm out. And that's not a glancing impact. Is that, sir, with the right arm in parallel with the back of the Lexus?
Yes, it is. So really I'm sorry, let me finish, please. What you're concerned about is where the center of mass is. But the center of mass,
How the hell are you going to keep interrupting our second husband and tell him to let you finish? The hell?
out towards the corner of the car, that becomes a glancing contact. So you don't have a center of mass contact.
No, she isn't.
You have a glancing contact.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so let's start the first force calculation.
I need my calculator.
I'm gonna let him use his calculator.
Sure.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Are we positive it's a real calculator?
So let's take a scenario where it's a center of impact,
Center of mass.
center of mass impact, right?
Okay.
Impact to the right arm.
Okay.
Let's start with that one.
It is.
Okay. And you want me to use like a 10 millisecond?
Yeah, be conservative. Yeah, let's use the 10 millisecond for the impact window.
Michelle has jokes every day. I don't know what you're talking about. I always have jokes. I think I missed my calling. But I'd be one of those ones that tells like dark humor. Where you have to wonder if it's actual or not. What's that called again? Can't remember. I would love to see if his calculator is only a calculator. Because it came out of this nifty little case. I wouldn't put it past them. You never know. I hate crowds. I'm actually not a people person at all. Yes, that is one word for it. There's another word for it too, and it'll probably come to me like an hour from now. I hope so, Hunter. I hope so. Oh, he does have the worst attitude. Gallows, that's another word for it. What is the other word? Oh my God. Where you can't really tell if something's a joke or not. What is that? That's his nifty calculator. Satire. Thank you, Chastity. Satire comedy. Satire. You can do it. When I first heard of satire, it was with that one chick on TikTok
Okay. Question?
that wanted to blame her parents
What
for
do you
giving birth
get
to her without asking her
for
permission
F
first.
of force in
I thought she
the
was
F
serious.
equals M times A calculation.
About
Thank you.
2,188 pounds. I made a triangular crash pulse assumption.
Right, and if you took the milliseconds
I know.
in half, become less conservative, would you end up doubling the 2188 number?
If you cut it in half, you would double, yes.
Exactly, through a simple mathematical, semi-algebraic application of the numbers, correct? You
Correct.
divide,
We're doing a little simplification in terms of the crash
Yes.
pulse shape, but generally, yes.
right. So, but let's take the conservative number, the lower number, 2188 that you came up with.
I liked it when it was
Do
on
you
my
know
second
from the
husband.
literature, as you did with the head,
Which is
you went to
actually
the
my third,
literature and
but
said,
okay.
this is how much pounds of force, you would get to have to cause a break of the occipital bone. Do you know from the literature how much force it would take to break an arm bone?
I have an idea, yes.
What is your idea?
So for a distributed load, such as this, not a concentrated load, you're gonna need somewhere between,
What do you
I've
mean, Becky?
seen, and this is for cadaver tests, a low of like 2,500, maybe a little lower, to a high of 7,000.
Sir, you have switched, haven't you? We're talking about center mass impact. Did you in your calculation just switch to a side
This
swipe
isn't repeat.
impact to
Nope.
do your calculation?
We don't know why he's writing. We also don't know why he keeps changing the report throughout the days and trying to open his laptop. We just don't know. They just came back from break. They're trying to calculate something.
I'm asking about a center of mass
Becky.
impact. How much force would you need? Let's start with the hand. Maybe it's a simpler one. Do you know how much force it takes to break, any of the hand bones, the felt, you know what I'm referring to, the phalangeals?
Yes.
The metacarpals, and the carpals?
Correct.
How much pounds of force do you need to break any one of those bones?
Actually, I didn't find any distributed loading on the amount of force. I don't know.
Well, no, I understand, but I'm asking, do you know from the literature, not a calculation, doesn't the literature tell you, can't you go to the literature like you did with the head, and you say, okay, to break the occipital bone, the literature says you need a minimum amount of force of this. I'm asking you the same question for the hand. If you don't know, it's okay, but do you know what the literature says for how much force is needed to break a bone in the hand?
So for a distributed load across the hand, there are distributed load tests that show you need over 300 Gs on the arm to do that. So it would depend on the mass of the hand.
What is the range of force that you would?
You see the light behind me that's glowing kind of pinkish purplish? You don't see that in the courtroom, right?
Would need to break a bone in the hand? Do you know from the literature? If you don't, that's okay.
I could probably figure it out.
How long would it take you to figure it out? Do you know from the literature what that number is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Is 300 to 400 pounds of force sound right from the literature that it would take to break a bone in the hand?
For a distributed load,
Yes.
such as the taillight, no.
No, not a distributed load. A load from a motor
This guy.
vehicle going backwards.
Right, that's a distributed load.
Right. So you're saying 300 to 400 pounds of force would not be enough to break any bone in the hand. Is that your answer?
So for a flat distributed load, like hitting a taillight, you're gonna need higher.
How about another part of the back of the vehicle?
I guess if you hit on the very corner and it wasn't a distributed impact, like if you had a more concentrated impact,
Yes.
Right,
that could
Brandy?
increase or decrease the
Decrease.
amount of force required.
How much
Except
would
she's
it
pouring
decrease
now.
it from the number you gave?
Depends on what you're hitting, what it's made out of, the
The
contact
Lexus
area.
SUV. Let's assume, I'm sorry.
Mr. Les, can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's assume we're talking about this Lexus SUV,
Mhm.
right? So let me back up. You don't know where exactly, under your theory, that there was a contact. You don't know, you testified to on direct. You don't know exactly where that point of contact is.
Correct,
You don't know.
except it's on the taillight.
Well, you're saying it's on the tail light, but you didn't observe any impact yourself personally, right?
Did I see Miss Reed's Lexus?
You didn't see the impact, right?
That is correct.
So, and there is no first-hand witness that saw, under your view, that a collision occurred. There's no witness to say where the arm was, correct?
There's no person that saw it.
Right. And you have chosen a point of contact, okay? You chose that for your analysis, correct?
Correct?
And you picked that location, but it's also possible that under your theory that a collision occurred, that that arm could have been impacted any part of the back of the vehicle. That's possible, isn't it?
That's not probable, no.
I'm asking, is it possible?
Anything is possible. I don't deal in possibilities, I deal in probabilities. It's not.
Anything is possible if you just believe
probable.
But you
He's because he
don't
looked
know
away from the mic.
exactly where the point of impact was.
So within the range of the light and the exact angle of the hand, no, I don't. What I do know is at the rear tail light area.
I know.
So your assumption is that it had, that because there's a tail light that is altered, it must have been by Mr. O'Keefe's arm. That's your conclusion, correct?
My conclusion is there are tail light fragments, a broken glass, lacerations to his arm, and his DNA on the back of the vehicle in the area of the taillight.
Sir,
There's no DNA.
and you're, I'm going to move to strike the DNA part of that answer for obvious reasons.
There's
I'm
no
not going to
DNA.
strike it.
Okay, so you're making,
Bev wasn't. He asked for it to be stricken that there. He said there was DNA on the back of the vehicle. There was not DNA on the back of the vehicle. Alessi just asked for it to be stricken, and Bev said no.
assumptions. You're taking what you view to be certain data, and you're coming to a conclusion, but that is based upon circumstantial information, correct? Is that fair?
Are you calling like pieces of the taillight at the scene around his body circumstantial information?
Sir, let me go to the force and then go back to the force analysis. Let's
Oh
go
my
back to the
God.
numbers. I want to stay on, if we can, just the calculation. So let's go back to the minimum amount of force you understand from the literature that it takes to break any bone in the arm from the finger up. Let's start with a hand. What's the minimum amount of force that can be applied to break a bone in the hand?
So it depends on the loading. So I don't actually know. In terms of the forearm, I can tell you there's data that shows up to,
Sir, he clearly asked several times just for you to speak on the hand and the hand alone. The hell? Can you guys do me a favor and tap this side of the screen to help out? I'd appreciate it.
300 Gs of loading, you will not get fractures. There's one up to 750 Gs showing no fractures for a male of similar height and weight of Mr. O'Keefe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's take those
Thank you,
numbers,
Becky.
okay? You said 300 and 750. Did I hear it correctly?
You did?
Okay, that's the numbers you gave that would break a bone.
Did you? Why would he have an earpiece? Hold on, let me put my glasses on. I don't think so.
Correct?
So the 300 actually didn't, the 750, the one example, didn't break a bone, but as you got above 350, you started to break bones.
So
300.
you got above 350.
Oh,
300.
Above 300, yeah, because that's what I thought you said the first time. You got above 300, you
you legit had me looking for an earpiece. You got me good.
start to get breaking bones, correct?
Correct.
And so if you take that 300 number and compare it to the 2,188
That was a
pounds
Michelle
of
moment.
force, you have 7 times the amount of force necessary to break the bone, correct, in the force analysis?
No. If you take 300
No.
Gs times a 12-pound arm, you get 3,600 pounds. The calculation you asked me to run earlier gave you 2,188 pounds.
Right.
So you are 1,412 pounds
We do, yes, 100%.
above the force required. Like the tolerance is 1,412 pounds above the force you would say get in a 20-mile-an-hour impact in terms of the fracture forces.
Let's do it this way.
I'm sorry?
Let's do it this way. The
Okay.
force that you calculated from my hypothetical of this Lexus SUV going backwards, you came up with the F number of 2,188, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't, what was the, you said, you said
2,180.
dyslexic? Or do you say Lexus? I didn't understand what you said.
Why would
The
he say
Lexus
dyslexic?
SUV that you've been talking about,
Gotcha.
okay?
I didn't hear
You
it.
came up with a number for F for force of 2,188. Are you changing that number?
Nope.
Okay,
absolutely
so
not.
let's go with your number of force from this vehicle of 2,188. I'm just simply asking, how much force does it take to break a bone in the right arm of a human being? How much force,
You
not
had to get very
acceleration,
specific.
how much force does it take to break a bone in the right arm?
Sure. So somewhere between 2,500, the one cadaver tested the distributed load of someone of similar size and weight, and actually close in age to Mr. O'Keefe, showed about
Okay, I have to ask, are these hired paid actors? This can't actually be the expert, right? He's a paid actor, right? And same hat. Don't forget the hat. He also had the same hat.
7,000 pounds of force to
Paid
break it.
actor,
Let's go
though.
to the hand. Do you
400K.
disagree that the literature shows it only takes 300 to 400 pounds of force to break a bone in the hand? Do you disagree with that?
Your question's too general. I can't answer your question. It depends on the loading. If I take my pencil, which has a very fine point, and jam it through my hand, I can jam it right through my hand.
Don't
because
do
it's a
it.
very
Don't
small
do
point.
it.
But if I
Hold on. No. If you ask him to do it, he just might do it for the CW. Don't ask him to do it. Don't ask him to demonstrate, sir. No. No, thank you.
distribute the load and a broader load, such as hitting a taillight, it takes much more force because the load's distributed across it. It's like if I sit on the corner of my bed. I might sink in this far when I sit on the corner of my bed. But what happens when I spread my load out, when I lay on my bed like this? I don't sink in as far. Has my weight changed? And weight is basically force. No, but I've distributed it over a larger area. So for a given force, you get less sinking into the mattress. So if you hit a broad surface like a taillight or a wall like this, it takes much more force than if I were to take a singular small round object and jam it into the hand. That hurts. This does not.
Okay, if you can.
Actually, sir, that depends on a person because when my fibro is flared and my nerves are on fire in my body, that actually does hurt. So I think you need to think about that one more time.
Hear my question. If it's unclear, you tell me.
Right? Me material
For not a
extraordinaire.
pen, not your bed, but for a Lexus SUV of 6,000 pounds, is there any part of the back of the Lexus in any manner where you can get a break to the hand from 300 to 400 pounds of force?
Any part on the back of the Lexus?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay. So probably, your words, you can get a break to the hand from just between 300 to 400 pounds of force. That's what you just said, correct?
So you're taking the totality of the back of it, like if you got it stuck in the bumper, potentially, yeah. But
Why
from
would
the
it be
taillight
stuck in the
or a
bumper?
broad, flat surface? No.
Asking about a taillight, any part of the back of an SUV, you agree that it is probable that you can get a break of the hand bones from just 300 to 400 pounds of force.
Your question is incomplete, right? You said
To
any
you,
part of the
maybe.
back, but then you wanted me to not include taillights or not include the rear body panel. If you hit a very narrow part of the car, like say the edge of the tailpipe,
I got closer because if we're going to make memes out of this, we got to move it closer because you guys weren't seeing his facial expressions.
that creates much more of a narrow contact. So force divided by area is pressure. So if you have a very tiny area, you have very high contact pressure.
It is funny.
And so,
Sadly funny.
but if you distribute the load over a larger area, the number on the bottom of that fraction is much bigger, so your contact pressure drops. So hitting the edge of the exhaust pipe is going to have a much higher likelihood of causing a fracture than hitting flat against the taillight.
Can somebody please in the world explain to me how the hell he got on the exhaust pipe? What the hell are we listening to?
Okay, what we're gonna do to make this more efficient, excuse me, sorry.
Because he clearly
Mr.
needs
Wolf, can you
help.
pull up a slide from Mr. Wolf's, or Dr. Welcher's presentation
Okay.
for the back of the Lexus, please? The back hatch, and Your Honor,
I
may we
can't
publish
believe
that?
this.
Sure, do you know what number though, Mr. Leslie?
Mr. Wolf does, and
And
I
then
know
he'll
you
tell
need it,
us.
so he'll tell me before I publish, and then we'll give you the number.
Your Honor, may I look here?
Yes, I'm going to let Dr. Welcher look at his slide
Oh, sure.
here
Yeah,
instead of just up there.
the back hatch, yes.
If we get another good meme moment, I'll zoom back in. This guy. The exhaust pipe?
You have one of just the rear
Jesus.
gate.
Thank you, Kathy.
The one measuring the height. There we go. Thank you. Okay, this is your slide presentation. Is there any part of the back of the Lexus SUV that has that more concentrated area where if the hand hit it, 300 to 400 pounds of force could break it? Is there any part, for example, the edge of the license plates, above the license plates, the L symbol that sticks out that would be concentrated? Anything you see there could 300 to 400 pounds of force contacting at any of those points cause a fracture of any of the bones of the hand.
So, I don't know how to show this because in the middle photograph, right where the 2 is on the license plate,
Yes.
there's a vertical edge. That area is recessed in. So if you hit right on that vertical edge, that could potentially do it.
That could do it. How about the L for the Lexus symbol if the hand is there?
No, it's not deep enough. The compliance of the hand is just going to sink into the car.
Is there any other part other than the license plate that the force applied, you would only need 300 to 400 pounds of force to break the hand?
Maybe the exhaust pipe, and potentially if you hand your hand up near the spoiler.
Right, so now let's go from 300 to 400. Let's go to the 2188, which is your number.
Good
Use
question.
2188. Is there any place where in 2188 force you could have a fracture of the hand on that back gate?
Just to be clear, 2188 is the number I calculated for you. It's not, quote, my number.
I understand, but we did.
So-
I understand, but we did the calculation. Is there anywhere on the back of the vehicle where 2188 could cause a fracture of the hand?
So that was a forearm fracture tolerance I thought we were talking about, because we used the weight of the whole arm for that.
We did. And my question is there anywhere in the back of the vehicle, in your opinion, that could cause a fracture with that?
I'm sorry, what, to the hand?
To,
Just the hand or the whole arm?
I'll take any part of the right arm. You call it the hand, the forearm. Is there any part that could cause a fracture?
So probably similarly, if you got your forearm down
You gotta
near
do it
that
on this side.
transition, I don't know if you can see the little dot. I'm talking about this area.
Yes.
Right here.
Yep.
So
Okay,
that
Charles.
transition between the two body panels.
Yes.
That could potentially do it. That's
You're
back where the
welcome.
reverse lights are. I'd have to look at whether, that would take it before breaking the plastic. And then, again, maybe if you hit the exhaust pipe as well. It's a
Maybe.
much more narrow loading
Maybe.
condition.
How about the corner of the tail?
Corner of the tail lamp. I suppose if you had just your hand on the very, very corner, potentially.
But you didn't do any of that force analysis for this case.
Okay, babe.
For the hand, no.
Anything is possible if you just believe.
But you did it for the head, correct?
Correct. Because that I'm able to quantify.
Because you're able to quantify
Leslie,
that
that
one.
was slide 108. I just want to
I'm
keep
sorry,
track.
Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Wolf. Yes,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Babe, did you know that we could have a dog and another cat? Because I believe
You are aware, Dr.
anything's
Welcher,
possible.
that Mr. O'Keefe suffered no fractures of any kind in his hand, correct?
So there were no fractures noted in the autopsy report, but they didn't actually x-ray, from the records I've seen, either his hand or his arm. So there was, at least according to the autopsy report, no overt fractures, but the x-rays I saw, none of them were of the arm, and the autopsy report said no sternum, spine, I think it said torso. They didn't say that there were no fractures there.
Was there any evidence in the medical records that you reviewed of any indication whatsoever of a fracture in Mr. O'Keefe's hand?
No,
Was there any indication whatsoever in any of the medical records you reviewed that there was a fracture of any bone in the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
not that I saw. Again, it wasn't x-rayed.
Was there any indication in the medical records and the autopsy that you say you reviewed of any fracture of any bone anywhere in the body of Mr. O'Keefe,
Yes.
other than the occipital bone or the skull?
Or the ribs. Because that was from CPR.
There's a couple bones in the skull that were fractured, but other than the skull, no.
Correct. So, are you aware that the medical examiner for the state
He's
of
going in for the kill on this one.
Dr. Shorty Bello performed an autopsy on Mr. O'Keefe? Are you aware of it?
Yes.
You're aware of it because you read the autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Are you implying, and it's a question,
No.
that Dr. Shorty Bello missed a fracture or didn't look properly for a fracture on Mr. O'Keefe?
No, I'm simply indicating that, for example, a hairline fracture, I didn't see any evidence that they actually x-rayed the structure, so there would be no overt evidence of that.
There were wounds on the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you are saying that the medical examiner should have x-rayed that to determine whether there was a hairline fracture? Is that your testimony?
No, you're asking me about evidence and proof of absence of fracture. So I would look for an x-ray to see if that was the case. I haven't seen any evidence of an x-ray of the arms.
So it's your position that on every autopsy,
I know, right?
there should be an x-ray of every bone in the body, and that the clinical judgment of the medical examiner should not be accepted, and there should be an x-ray of every bone before a conclusion can be drawn that there's no fracture to a bone in the body of the deceased. Is that your testimony?
Absolutely not. Like, I'm an engineer. You're asking me about proof. And so proof is somebody looked at it, somebody took an x-ray, somebody palpated it and found a comminuted fracture. So
I
we're
don't
talking
know.
about proof.
Sir,
It is not common. It is not common for them to talk like this to attorneys. Not at all. I have no idea why.
Ask me about the opinion of a medical examiner. I'm not a
Hold
medical.
on. Only one person at a time. Mr. Leslie, let him finish, and then you can ask the question.
Your Honor, I hadn't finished my question.
Okay, then finish your question, Dr. Welcher, wait for the question. Then let
400K.
Dr. Welcher respond. It's a nightmare for them.
I understand, and I think I've been doing that, but I'll redouble my efforts. Dr. Welcher, I didn't use proof in my question. I'm going to repeat the question. Is there any indication in any medical record, autopsy report of the deceased of any fracture of any bone in the body?
That was not your original question, but to answer your question, no. Except for the skull.
Sir, do you need Madam Court Reporter to read back what was just said, since you want to say he changed his question? And who the hell cares if he changed his question? Answer the question he's asking you right now.
Except for the skull.
Correct.
This guy. Yeah, I think we can get to 50K. You guys want to help tap in? Greatly appreciated.
Do you understand whether the absence of any fractures other than the skull of Mr. O'Keefe
Thank you.
was of significance to the medical examiner, Dr. Scorty Bello, in the conclusions she reached in the
Thank you,
autopsy
Aloe.
report that you read?
System.
Did you read the conclusions of Dr. Scorty Bello in the autopsy?
I believe so.
Right. I agree, Janky.
Are you aware of whether Dr. Scorty Bello has analyzed whether the injuries to Mr.
you, Mel.
O'Keefe are inconsistent or consistent with a motor vehicle impact? Are you aware of any analysis to that effect?
So I'm gonna see you on this one.
Sidebar again. Yes, Cordy Bello. There's you guys' fan. And I know you guys are used to my patience with parameters, but we're all caught up. This corrupt judge just got the Person of the Year award from the Bar Association. I know, right? Yeah, guys, if you could help tap, be greatly appreciated. Oh my God, Colleen. You've missed so much. Okay, here's what I know. Quick sum down. They're giving Aperture $400,000. The Commonwealth is. $400,000. Thank you, Lori. $400,000. Plus the vehicles that they bought to do their testing on. When the trial's over, they sell them. And if they don't make back the amount they spend, the Commonwealth gives them that money too. Oh yeah. $400,000 for 8 months of work. Yeah, $40K so far, but at the end it's $400,000. Oh yeah, exactly. I would love to know how all the Canton residents feel about this, how the county itself feels about this, because damn, that's y'all's taxpayer money. Allison, that's a really good question. I still cannot believe that man bought the exact t-shirt John was wearing, the exact hoodie, the exact hat, the exact jeans, the exact shoes. That is like stalker level behavior. I have never seen that done. And then to test getting hit, he takes off the hoodie. What sense does that make? If he wanted to say, oh, okay. Same guy. But get this. He is challenging Alessi left and right. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But Alessi he's toe for toe with this guy and he's winning. There's so many things that are so odd. He's just trying to get him to say whether or not his numbers match up to what happened to John. And he keeps accessing his laptop from the stand as well. Yeah, this is the reenactment. Now, I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but when he graduated high school, he told his dad he wanted to go to school to become a doctor. His dad said, don't, it's not worth it. So he went this way instead. But yesterday he was up there acting like he was a doctor, explaining all this stuff with the medical examiner's office and stuff like that. What do they do in Sidebar? Well, they argue and argue and argue and argue. Exactly. Yeah, he's not a medical. He is a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. He wanted to be a doctor. He's one of the guys that thinks he's smarter than everybody else in the room. Right? Yeah. You're right. Overpaid bullshitter. We wanted him to be an expert, but yeah, yeah. But you want to know what makes him a medical expert? He took classes with some people that were doctors. I'm not even kidding you. I can't make this shit up. He said that. Okay. My opinion on this case, and from day one, I was not in this opinion stance. I believe that Kieran Reed is 100% being set up. And I didn't think that until opening statements. If you just believe, you could achieve anything. Just gotta believe you're a doctor, and then you'll become one. I mean, if we listen to this guy, I mean, oh my gosh. He's the one that works with the guy who had no bachelor's degree. He's the one that works with him. He works for the same company. But this guy's got all the degrees except for in doctoral, meaning medical doctor, not science doctor. Yeah, I cannot even with these people. Like, somebody accidentally typed, it's so obvious she did it. You meant to type not did it, right? By the way, guys, if trolls come in, just ignore them. We're going to go on the ignoring thing today.
May I, Your Honor?
Right.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Welcher, I would like to talk now about your...
Oh, he also has changed the report every single day. The same report, the same presentation he's given us. Keith, you can leave. I'm not going to give you attention. Bye-bye.
Exercise.
That's my question too, Herbert.
You did not present, as you have stated, a force calculation with
Thank
regard
you,
to the
Michelle.
arm. You did a paint exercise, and what I want to do is to reference, and if we need to bring it up, sir, to refresh you, slides 103 to 120 of your PowerPoint presentation in this trial. I'll just call it the blue paint exercise. Is that descriptive enough for you to know what I'm talking about?
No, it's not an exercise, it's a test.
Okay, you want to call it a blue paint test?
Sure.
Okay, let's call it
Thank you for getting us to 50K tabs, guys. I greatly appreciate that.
a blue paint test. I just want to try to expedite things and use parlance that we can
Ashley, who are you talking to?
agree on. So your blue paint test involved painting the right rear
Thank
tail
you,
light
Michelle.
blue, correct?
Correct.
Positioning the test subject behind the
gotcha.
tail light, correct?
Correct.
With
That's
the
true,
arm
too.
held out, correct?
Correct.
And at a right angle, correct?
Correct.
And then the vehicle, the Lexus SUV, is backed into the test subject, correct?
So I ran 3 different tests.
I know. Well, let's just do each one at a time, okay?
Okay, so you start with the last one.
I'll start with whatever one you want. How about if we start with the one at 1 mile per hour?
None of them are at 1 mile an hour.
2 miles per hour?
2 miles an hour.
Let's do 2 miles per hour. Let's start with that one,
Okay.
okay? Now,
This can't be real.
did you conduct that test in an attempt to show that the injury
Thank you,
patterns on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm are consistent with being struck by the Lexus tail light on that arm?
So generally, I wanted to show that the location, area, and span over which that headlight covers matches the location and area of the lacerations on his arm.
That's what I want to get to. So you discussed data that you say shows that that you say shows the Lexus SUV was traveling above 20 miles per hour during the period that you allege the SUV made contact with Mr. O'Keefe. Is that correct?
No. Where'd you get that from?
Hold on, okay, the answer is no, so did you do a test involving 20 miles per hour?
No, Michelle.
I did some other backing tests.
Yes.
I was looking at how the rear pedestrian system and what warnings you got from the rear
You're
pre-collision
welcome.
system, the PCS system.
He was very
Let
offended,
me
you're
ask you
right.
this, would you agree that you did a blue paint test
Only a few minutes.
with the vehicle going at 2 miles per hour? Did you
Of course.
do that? Okay. You didn't do a blue paint test with the vehicle going at 20 miles per hour, correct?
That is correct. I was not going to hit myself with a Lexus at 20 miles an hour.
Why not?
You could have done other tests
Thank you, Jen.
where the vehicle was going at 20 miles per hour if you used a crash test dummy, correct? You
If
could have
you-
done that.
If you use the right crash test dummy, and then to set up the test,
Instead of the
because
living
generally
dummy.
you only get 1 or 2 shots at it, but you damage the car, you have to know everything about the parameters. And so again, pedestrian impacts are
That's why he didn't want to do it, because if he damaged the car, he'd get less when he went to sell it.
so very sensitive to initial angles. If I were to do a test and it was off a tiny, tiny bit and we got some different results, I would be in here having to defend it. Well, your own testing didn't show it. Point is we don't have enough information to be able to conduct that testing.
Exactly.
Your assumption, as I understand it, is that the Lexus was going 24 miles per hour in reverse and made contact with Mr. O'Keefe. That's your analysis.
No, there is not one single slide I have that says this is the speed he was hit at 24 miles an hour.
You know, you have a hypothesis at what speed you believe there was impact. You have the point of impact speed.
I do not know the exact speed. We don't know the initial point of contact. We don't know where exactly he was on the road. We don't have
We also don't know that he ever hit her. That vehicle, you said, couldn't tell you whether or not she actually struck somebody.
enough information to determine that.
Let's talk about the other information you don't have.
Okay.
You don't have the information as to from your alleged point of contact to where Mr. O'Keefe landed. You don't have that information, do you, sir?
I'm sorry, where is my alleged point of contact?
You allege that there was a point of contact between the Lexus, the back of the Lexus, and
Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Right, but I don't know where that is on the road.
You don't know that. I want to go through the information that you don't have.
Okay, doke.
So you don't have that. You don't have the point of impact. You don't have where in the road there was impact under your allegation.
Those are the same thing.
Right. You don't have where under your view, the body of Mr. O'Keefe landed precisely. You don't have that information, do you?
What do you mean by precisely? We know it's 7 feet off the road. We know it's near the flagpole. We don't know where it started. The problem isn't where it landed. The problem is where it started.
Right. And you don't have that information.
I don't have where it started.
The paint tests that you used, aren't those used, if they're used at all, as an element of physical impact reconstruction, an element, not as the focal point of the test itself?
So that was the focal point of that test. The focal point of the purpose of that test was to show the contact
Ow.
width and location of how someone of Mr. O'Keefe's height, which happens to be me, contacts and where it would contact where the broken
Hi,
tail
Cindy.
light was.
How are you?
So no, that was the focal point of the testing. That's why I did the testing. That's why we're calling it paint transfer testing.
Right, but my question, sir, I understand you use paint tests as the focal point, but aren't paint tests in accurate accident reconstruction not used as focal points? They're used as supplements to other tests to get more accurate information. Do you agree or disagree with that?
You didn't give me enough information. I can't agree nor disagree. It depends on what you're trying to do.
Let's go to, on direct examination, you testified that after the 1162-2 trigger event, Miss Reed's vehicle traveled a distance of 87 feet. Do you recall that?
You are mixing up two things. Remember, the trigger is in the middle of the event.
Give me the chart, please. Your Honor, I'll give you the, as soon as Mr. Woke gives it, the slide 23, I believe it is.
I'm sorry, what slide?
Well, I want Mr. Woke to go through it to check.
Excuse me, sir. Just between two people, you're giving yourself 4 headlines. You don't want to use those expression lines at our age. Be careful.
Let me ask
He's
it this way,
upset.
see if we can get to it quicker. Do you remember talking on direct about a calculation of 87 feet where you added, there was like a 30-something number and a 50 number and you came to 87? Do you remember that in your slide presentation, sir?
Slide 37, yes.
Right. So if we could bring up that slide, please, Your Honor, with your permission.
Okay.
Yep.
That's 36, but okay.
This guy's an asshole. I'm just going to say it.
Are you on 33, sir?
He's kept
No,
it
I'm on
interesting, though.
36.
Mr. Woke, do you have 33? If you could go to 33, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because that's where your 87 number is, not on the
It's
other.
on a bunch of slides.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Alrighty. So if you could zoom in, Mr. Woke, so Dr. Welcher can see the
Just another example of how
numbers
great
in the
Bev is.
column.
She's person of the year. Need a drink for that.
You're going the wrong way.
Yep, to the farther to the right.
Oh, I'm not the only one that has problems.
He is playing checkers when Alessi is playing chess.
Okay.
You
Sir,
still
do
don't
you
have it.
remember testifying about this to the farther to the right?
Farther to the right.
Yep.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
Is
little
that,
Key point. Key point. Savannah gave a key point. I never gave an 87 number. The number 87 is on multiple slides.
53 number down
Good
there?
catch, Savannah.
That column?
Right.
So if
Can
you
we
take-
can we scroll up a tad so you can see the headers? There you go.
Okay.
No. Okay, go ahead.
So am I in the right column relative to start? Is that the column?
So there's two columns, like Z is relative to where it started. And then
400K.
positive is forward. And then as you back up, once you go past 0, it becomes negative.
Right. So what I want to do is have you direct us to the column where you calculated 87 feet.
It's in two spots. It's at the end of column Y.
Right? We go all the way down. Is that in the yellow there? Is that 87, sir?
It is.
Okay, is that the 87 number you were
Hold on
referring
a
to?
second. You asked me to identify it. So then it's see where the one next to it says minus 53.429.
Yes.
If you go up, so it's not a little bit down, a little bit, and add, see where it's changing directions at 34.157.
Yes.
You add those two together, that gives you the same result. So it went 34 feet forward and then 50 something feet backwards.
Right. And what is the 87 feet traveled, is that what you're indicating is the distance traveled during the trigger? Is that what the 87 represents to you?
That is so 87 represents the total rearward distance traveled during the trigger.
Okay. So you believe 87 represents the total rearward distance. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
Now, can you
Hold on, to be clear. So it starts, it pulls forward, then it backs up.
Sir, you will stop addressing our husband so ignorantly. He is our second husband. Have some respect.
Passes where it initially started and goes 53 feet further back.
That's what I want to get to. How many
I know.
feet did you say on direct, and did you just say now that it went 87 feet in reverse?
Correct.
Okay.
From its furthest point forward.
Well,
Yes, she should
that's
be.
what I want to get to, because I want to have this point clear. How many feet do you believe the Lexus went in reverse based upon your PowerPoint presentation? Not when it went forward and then came backwards. How many feet do you believe that vehicle went in reverse?
Your question doesn't make any sense.
It makes
Because
sense
when
to
it
me.
went forward, then it went in reverse.
How does this question not make any sense? No, he's not going to let up, nor
How
should
many
he.
feet do you believe the Lexus went during the trigger?
So it went a total of 80, it went 34 feet forward, then it came back 80, or another 53 feet past where it went.
Exactly. So,
My understanding is she can.
you've testified that the 1162-2 trigger event represents a backwards maneuver, correct?
So again, I was clear, it initially pulls forward and then backs up.
I would like you to define, so it's clear to the jury,
Crystal.
do you consider
Crystal clear.
the event of 1162-2 just backward movement, or do you consider the trigger to be forward movement and adding to it backward movement? Which one?
So can we pull the slide up?
Sure.
Could you
At this point,
zoom in? There you go. No, go back to the left. So
He's got
that
control
T
over everything
in the
now.
third column for data ID represents the trigger. If you scroll over a little bit to the right, where the highlighted yellow blocks are, you can see 1 is a forward drive gear, 0 is neutral, 2 is reverse. So that's where it's switched from forward to reverse.
right,
I
Savannah?
mentioned the brake. So you have it on the brakes coming in, slowing, stopping, going into reverse, and then backing up.
So you conclude that the vehicle for this trigger went 34 feet forward, is that correct?
Correct.
How do you know the vehicle didn't go 150 feet forward? How do you know it just went 30 feet, 4 feet forward? How do you know that?
So the only data we have is this 10-second window. And so we have the velocity when it's going forward. We know how much time it took to do that. So that tells us how far it would travel. Velocity times time is distance.
So are you saying that it is a certainty that it went forward 34 feet and there's no other number of feet it could have gone forward? You're absolutely certain of the 34 number?
No. Again, if you look, see where it says vehicle speed?
I see it.
So at the start of this event, which is the trigger -5, so the trigger is actually where it's triggered, and it takes 5 seconds before, 5 seconds after. But when the trigger happens, it's actually stopped. But the 5 seconds before, it's going 13.6 miles an hour forward. So at the start of the data, it's still going 13.6 miles an hour forward, but it's slowing down. You can see you have the brake where it says brake SW, which is short for switch. The brake switch is a 1, which means it's on. So when this event data started, it's going 13 miles an hour.
I'll ask the question a different way. Are you certain that the distance traveled forward during this trigger event was 34 feet? Are you certain?
I'm pretty certain during this trigger event.
Pretty certain?
Or certain?
Well, I've checked the math. I've had people check my math. So
Hold
I
on.
tried to use it.
You said you didn't let anybody read your report, sir. Oh, did Alessi just trip him up?
Accurate as possible. I would say I'm certain.
Okay.
But I'm an engineer. So there's no absolutes. There's no 100% of my job.
So you're certain of the 34 feet, and is it correct that you're certain of 53 feet going backwards? Are you certain of that, sir?
So backwards from its initial starting position.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and therefore you are certain of a total of 87 feet traveled that you have at the bottom in that yellow-orange. You're certain of that as well?
87 feet of backing, correct.
Okay. Now, you also testified on direct, as I understand it, in slide 23, that different numbers represent different gear states of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And a 0 represents neutral?
I think it's either neutral or parked, but I'm pretty sure it's neutral.
A
Pretty
1
sure.
represents drive?
Correct.
A 2 represents reverse?
Correct.
Or a 2 can represent slowing down, is that correct?
Not for a gear shift number.
So you didn't say on direct that 2 could represent reverse or slowing down?
God, I hope not. It doesn't. So those numbers simply represent, is the transmission in drive? Is it in neutral? Is it in reverse? It doesn't tell you anything about whether it's slowing down or not. But the brake switch and the brake pressure and the longitudinal accelerometer data gives you some information on that.
Okay, so if Your Honor, we could go to slide 30, please.
Okay.
Mr. Wolf?
Secondhand embarrassment in full force.
And I want to do it generally. There's not a need to read any specific number. I just want it clarified.
Mr. Lessie, so is this 30 or 31?
Thank you, Michelle. I like your name.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, you are correct. It's 31 in the most up-to-date presentation. Thank you. You see all the numbers in blue font on that
Good
slide, sir?
I
afternoon.
do?
Those are all numbers that you have placed on that slide. Did I have that correct in your direct presentation?
You do?
Okay. So this
Thank you, Gail.
Excel spreadsheet, there's also numbers in black, correct?
Correct.
So all the ones that are in blue, those are numbers that you have placed into the spreadsheet. Correct?
Correct. The one exception is column N, where it says shift position.
Yes.
I changed green to forward and red to reverse.
So the data in the columns
Thank you.
in blue are not from the original data that was downloaded from the vehicle, correct?
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, for example, if you look at column H, I simply did a unit conversion. So it's the same number, it's just in different units. But the black numbers represent exactly as it comes out of the vehicle, but it's the same number.
All right, that's what I wanted to get to. So for clarity for this slide, when you
Ooh.
download
Nice. Thank
this
you, Lisa.
data from the vehicle, what is in black, those numbers just come right out, correct?
Correct.
As they're stated. But the blue numbers, they don't come out like the numbers in blue. You have to do something, some calculation, some application to get to the blue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, no, we're going to keep that up, Mr. Wolf, please. Thank you. And when we need to get to the specific numbers, we'll be fair and make sure you can see them. Now, in these columns, do I understand it correctly that you attempted to account for wheel slippage in the revolutions per minute speed values produced by the car?
Not here. You're looking, this is 1162-1. The wheel slippage occurred in 1162-2.
Okay, and so if we go to a slide with 1162.2, we will then go to the slide you believe represents wheel slippage, is that correct?
There are data points in that represent slippage.
That's my question. In which slide, sir, would you like to pick?
35.
Thank you. So we will go to slide 35.
But they don't show Bev for this long usually. That's why I brought it to her because she's not usually on
So-
camera this long.
I've highlighted the slippage.
Exactly. So you agree that there is data that shows that there is wheel slippage with the Lexus SUV during trigger event. Let's enlarge it for this one here. The trigger event, the number 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
And As I understand it, you testified that this trigger event was caused by a depression of the accelerator pedal at more than the 30%. Is that correct?
It's a transition into reverse and then a quick acceleration exceeding 30%
So let's
in reverse.
Okay, got it. So the accelerator pedal being depressed to this degree, more than 30%, can be the result of wheel slippage, correct?
It doesn't necessarily work that way. I mean, you can have wheel slippage at any acceleration, technically, depending on the roadway. It's just what is in the data that shows that it's slipping.
Yes, Melinda,
It
yeah.
isn't necessarily because of the accelerator. Normally, that's what causes slippage. But it's the data. When you look at the data, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's increasing in speed, but yet the longitudinal acceleration is dropping.
My question, again, doctor, is you can have an accelerator pedal depressed greater than 30% and it be caused by wheel slippage. That can occur, correct?
The wheel slippage does not cause the accelerator pedal.
I'm not saying a cause and effect. I'm just saying a correlation. You understand what I mean by a correlation?
Let me, if I may, try and straighten this out. So, applying heavy acceleration can cause the wheels to spin. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to get at. Alrighty. So in your review of the materials that are related to January 29, 2022, did you become aware of whether there were, and you said you extensively reviewed documents, did you become aware whether there were people at 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And approximately how many people, without regard to names, just number, how many people did you become aware were at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022, the early morning hours? How many people approximately did you become aware were present?
It depends on which time, but there could be as many as 16.
As many as 16. And let's talk about the time period from midnight to 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding
I
of how
think
many
he's
people
allergic
could have
to
been
that,
present
Maze.
at 34 Fairview at that time period?
So I'm gonna see you at sidebar on this, Mr.
Sidebar again. That's right, Molly. Yeah. He literally is a genius. I'm a fan. The witness, yeah, he sure is. Again, in what cases have you ever heard of a witness talking like that to a lawyer? Oh, Tammy, I don't have one. I honestly don't have one. Exactly, never. I honestly don't know. That's a really good question, though.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, except Mom's
Dr.
not there right
Welter.
now.
Am I correct in my understanding that you believe under your theory, the Lexus for event 1162-2 backed up 53 feet? Am I correct?
No, it backed up A total of 87 feet.
Okay, let's take your 87. It backed up a total of 87, okay?
Correct.
We've already been here, sir.
And your further theory is that it did so and reached 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And you stated you have an understanding of a certain number of people, and I don't want to talk about the inside of the house, but just that were at 34 Fairview between roughly 12 and 1 a.m. Do you have an understanding of that, sir? Approximately.
I believe I do.
And what is that number?
You want them, people that were there for that entire window of time, or
Yeah,
just?
Yes, 12 to 1.
So Mr. Alessi, just move to the last question.
Right, sure. So, sir, did you assume that there were cars parked out front of 34 Fairview at that 12 to 1 o'clock window? Did you assume any cars parked out front?
The entire time?
No, I'm just talking 12 to, yeah, any time between 12 and 1. Did you make any assumptions whether there were cars parked out front on the roadway at 34 Fairview? Did you make any assumptions with regard to that?
At a point in time, there was a vehicle behind it.
I'm sorry,
There was a vehicle behind it.
just one?
That is my understanding, in terms of on the street, is
On
your
the street,
question?
exactly.
Yes,
And what, do you remember the type of vehicle?
yes,
What kind of vehicle was it?
an F-150 pickup.
Did you have any understanding as to whether there was a Jeep vehicle on the road at that 12 to 1 time period?
I had seen testimony somewhere to that effect, but the majority of the testimony was there were no other vehicles.
But you did see testimony that there was also a Jeep type vehicle on the front, out the front of 34 Fairview between 12 and 1. Is that what you're recalling?
So I'm gonna let that answer stand, what he's just testified to. Just go ahead and.
Okay,
I would ask him to be a little bit more specific about testimony in trial 1 or trial 2 because he's not supposed to be listening to the testimony in trial 2.
so Dr. Welcher, what I want
Exactly,
to do
yeah.
is to have you, using your data, you say 87 feet for the backup, correct?
Right.
1160
He's not.
up to 24 miles per hour. Isn't there a likelihood, if there is at least one vehicle out in front of 34 Fairview, that there would be a collision of the Lexus SUV with a vehicle out front?
No, the vehicle had left prior to the end, or prior to event 1162-2.
What information do you have with regard to how many vehicles are in front of 34 Fairview at between 12 and 1?
So I have Miss Reed's interview statements. I have statements of a number of witnesses. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names.
I was just going to say, let's not just number of vehicles.
She says let's move on because he wasn't supposed to read any of that either.
Okay, so I have a number of witness statements at different, multiple statements from the same witnesses at different times, indicating the path and following the Lexus to the house and then leaving before the event.
Assume that there were vehicles, at least one vehicle parked out front of 34 Fairview. Is there a likelihood that given 24 miles per hour over 87 feet, is there a likelihood that there would be a collision given the weather conditions as you knew them to be at that time?
Well, the weather, I don't think necessarily plays into whether there would be a collision or not.
Are you
We know
shitting me?
it backed up 87 feet. So again, it goes forward like 35-ish and then back like 60 something. And so if something is within 65 feet of the rear of it, or whatever the numbers are, I need my slides.
Whatever the numbers are.
50,
Yeah, go
57.
The hell?
If something is within that window, then it would hit it.
All right, good. So now let's look at another.
This is the
scenario.
Karen Reed
If
trial.
it's going as you describe it, is there a likelihood that the Lexus would also go upon the lawn in front of 34 Fairview?
It depends on where it starts.
You have an opinion, don't you, as to where it starts?
No, I do not. That's actually why I have that diagram showing it off to the side.
That's
I'm
right.
simply showing how far it moved forward, how far it moved back.
Exactly.
We don't know where on the roadway it started.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't know
Right.
where on the roadway it started. And therefore, all you have is the distance covered, correct?
Correct.
So, but you're saying the distance is 87 feet, correct?
87 feet backwards, yes.
So backwards, 24 miles an hour. Have you ever driven a vehicle backwards 24 miles an hour, sir?
Yes, I
Here
think
we
I've driven
go.
this Lexus backwards 24 miles
Right.
an hour.
So if anybody who's driven a vehicle back, have you ever driven any vehicle back 24 miles an hour at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning?
Probably not since I got out of high school.
Have you ever done it when there's a storm that is beginning?
No.
Have you ever done it when there is less than clear visibility?
No, and
Too much.
And have you ever done it when there's low lighting?
oh, maybe when I've been up skiing in the snow, I've done it. But again, that's been decades.
Right. So 87 feet, 24 miles an hour. Are you saying that in every instance that vehicle will stay on the road and for 34 Fairview, it wouldn't go up on the lawn?
When you mean every instance, mean like
agree.
every possible location on the road it starts from?
Correct.
No, there's some spots, if you start here, it's gonna go up on the road, on the yard. If you start too far on the other side, you're gonna go over into the neighbor's yard. So it depends on where you start.
Right. And so given the conditions that we've just described, right? The
Conditions
weather.
have nothing to do
I
with where
need
you
to
start.
finish my
Hold
question,
on.
sir.
Only one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Let him finish his question, please.
Given the conditions that you've described, it is reasonable to conclude that that vehicle, under your parameters, would have gone up on the lawn. Is that a reasonable conclusion?
No,
So you don't think there's any possibility that could occur, a vehicle going 24 miles an hour at this location, 87 feet backwards, in the dark, with wet pavement at a minimum, and low lighting, you don't believe it's possible for the vehicle to, under your scenario, to have gone up on the lawn? That's not
so
possible.
your first question was reasonable, and I said no. Now you're asking possible. It, of course, is possible. Whether it's reasonable or not, I'd have to know the starting position.
Right.
If it's very close to the side, then it could be reasonable. If it's further towards the middle of the road because snow is building up on the side of the road, then it's probably not as reasonable. I would need more information to be able to determine whether it's reasonable or not. It's
Don't you think you
certainly
would have done that
possible.
already?
It's possible it could have shot off into space as an engineer, but not probable.
Oh, you think it's possible that it could have been shot off into space, sir?
As an engineer, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility that this
Absolutely.
Lexus could have been shot up into space.
Yeah, highly, highly unlikely. But
Right.
again, you're asking an engineer about possibilities and probabilities.
Let's get back to reality. So in terms of the,
On the last break, did he smoke something? It's why I avoid humanity too.
Lexus itself, because you, under your method of analysis, don't have the starting point, you can't rule out that under your scenario, the vehicle would have gone up on the lawn. You can't rule that out, can you, sir?
I cannot, no, it could have.
Okay, now let's go to the next topic.
Back it up? Yeah, I will. So far, we know that this guy and his company, Aperture, are getting paid $400,000. And he can't tell us a lot of things.
Yard. If you start too far on the other side, you're going to go over into the neighbor's yard. So it depends on where you start.
Right, and so in given the conditions that we've just described, right? The
Conditions
weather.
have nothing to do
I
with where
need
you
to
start.
finish my
Hold
question,
on.
sir.
Only one at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
Let him finish his question, please.
Given the conditions that you've described, it is reasonable to conclude that that vehicle, under your parameters, would have gone up on the lawn. Is that a reasonable conclusion?
No.
So you don't think there's any possibility that could occur, a vehicle going 24 miles an hour at this location, 87 feet backwards, in the dark, with wet pavement at a minimum, and low lighting, you don't believe it's possible for the vehicle to, under your scenario, to have gone up on the lawn? That's not
So
possible.
your first question was reasonable, and I said no. Now you're asking possible. It, of course, is possible. Whether it's reasonable or not, I'd have to know the starting position.
Right.
If it's very close to the
do.
side, then it could be reasonable. If it's further towards the middle of the road because snow is building up on the side of the road, then it's probably not as reasonable. I would need more information to be able to determine whether it's reasonable or not. It's certainly possible. It's possible it could have shot off into space as an engineer, but not probable.
Oh, you think it's possible that it could have been shot off into space, sir?
As an engineer, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility that
Absolutely.
this Lexus could have been shot off into
Yeah,
space.
highly, highly unlikely. But
All right.
again, you're asking an
'Cause it was
engineer
requested.
about possibilities and probabilities.
Let's get back to reality. So in terms of the
Yeah.
Lexus itself, because you, under your method of analysis, don't have the starting point, you can't rule out that under your scenario, the vehicle would have gone up on the lawn. You can't rule that out, can you, sir?
I cannot. No, it could have.
Okay. Now let's go to the next topic.
They're doing fabulous today, in my opinion.
If we could, Your Honor, have Exhibit 168 published.
Who's
in evidence.
Melissa? It was
Which is
requested for
now
me to go back,
under
so I
the
did. I rewound it a little bit. This much. Defense. This is Alessi asking the questions.
Now, as I understand your testimony, Dr. Welcher, you believe
You're
that
welcome.
it's possible that the Lexus taillight could have caused these wounds to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm. Is that correct?
Correct.
And more specifically, it's your belief that the lacerations would have been caused by the vehicle scratching Mr. O'Keefe's arm as it drives past him. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'd characterize it that way. What happens is, this 6,000-pound vehicle is coming, and he's standing on a, icy, snowy roadway area, and it's going
Brandy.
to contact him and move his whole body and induce rotation.
Right. So it's going to contact him and, under your theory, induce rotation. So wouldn't such a movement of the car relative to his right arm result in horizontal injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, as can be seen on his bicep above the elbow?
So could we pull up one of my slides to address this issue?
Sir, I'd like to
I'd like to answer your question with a slide that I have.
Forget
that
the
addresses this
slides!
exact
Jesus!
point.
I'd like to stay with this slide, Dr. Welcher, and see if you can answer my questions off of this slide. So I'll repeat it.
Maybe only Jesus will
Do
know
you
that, so.
agree
But I think
that
so.
the injuries up at the upper part, where you're familiar with the bicep brachialis?
I am.
And aren't those two up at the top, right over the bicep brachialis?
They're actually about midway between the biceps and the triceps.
Right. So you know which two I'm talking about, the two up there. Can you just use your laser pointer just so we're talking about the same two? Do you have one?
I'll give it a try, but the upper ones,
I know it's not your fault, but
on the
sometimes it
image,
doesn't
the
show.
upper left. I mean,
Yes.
technically, the ones right to the right of that are also on the biceps and triceps.
Right, but
The
I'm talking,
biceps goes all the way to the elbow, so do the triceps.
right, so I'm talking about the two that are the farthest up.
Correct.
All right, would you agree that those are in a horizontal orientation?
Generally, yes, which is what you'd expect with your arm like this and the tail light coming across like this, which is what I showed in my slides.
My questions are trying to keep this moving. I just asked if those are in a horizontal orientation.
Yeah,
Yes
more
or
or
no?
less. They're angled down slightly, but more or less horizontal.
Okay.
Do, 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 do,
Isn't it true that if Mr. O'Keefe's arm were to be flexed like it was with the test subject in your blue paint test, the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm would be oriented in a vertical direction?
Absolutely not. If you pull up my slide 117, it'll show exactly that it is like perfectly horizontal. When you're standing like this, and this is the tail light, the laceration, when it comes across here and pushes my body,
Thank
it's
you,
going to make
Julie.
a horizontal laceration because the 6,000-pound vehicle is going to push me out of the way. As this pushes me out of the way, it's going to drag and create a horizontal laceration across my arm. This is exactly what you'd expect.
So let's talk about the forearm, sir. We may have miscommunicated. I'm talking about the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm now.
So we're switching from the arm to the forearm.
Correct.
Got it.
Wouldn't those
Oh my God, this
be
guy.
oriented in a vertical direction?
No. Again, you have the vehicle. If this is me,
No, he's not a medical expert, but he was going to be, and his daddy told him it was a waste of time, so don't. So he went into this field, but because he took classes with some doctors, he thinks he knows.
and this is the car, it's pushing and pushing across like this. And with your arm bent like this, it's going to cause laceration as it pushes my arm away. It pushes like that.
Okay, I
And
got it.
my slide shows this quite clearly.
So you disagree. You do not agree that the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's forearm, under your theory, would be oriented in a vertical. You disagree with that. It's just want to get that on the record.
I disagree with that.
Okay. Now, also, do you understand that under your theory of injury here, that there would be injuries caused in two different directions by the same movement of the car? Agree or disagree?
I'm going to say I disagree. You need to give me a little more. You're going to have, again, this is a glancing or a clipping type impact. And so it's going to be it's going to sweep across the arm, which is what causes the horizontal lacerations.
Sir, her tail light is not as big as the length of the entire arm. You do realize that, don't you?
We're talking about a flat surface, right, sir?
Approximately, yes.
And therefore,
I believe she was framed.
you would have to maintain contact with the arm as the car moves. Am I correct about that?
Maintain contact with the arm? I'm unclear what you mean.
Because it's long.
What I'm trying to do, sir, is to get under your theory, right? Given the contact that you've described, what would you expect to be the orientation of the wounds to the upper part of the arm and to the lower part of the arm?
Just like it's shown in this photograph.
Okay.
He looks so freaking confused. Oh my gosh.
Isn't it the case with your theory that the tail light would have to break? And after the break, the arm would have to maintain contact with the arm as the car moves.
So that is what happens in pedestrian contacts. There is a contact duration. For example, you asked me earlier in that calculation you had me ran, you said 0.01 seconds. That was the contact duration. So when you have things like this, that's
Yes, he
why you
does.
have to allow, if you do testing, the body to move, because the car is going to hit the body. It's going to cause it to move. The body's going to rotate away. and the car is going to continue on in that clipping type impact. So the arm is definitely in contact with the rear of the car for some time.
That's what I wanted to get to, is simply that under your theory, the taillight would break, and also the arm would need to maintain contact with the taillight area as the car moves. Is that your supposition?
So at a point in time, it'll stop contact, but the 6,000-pound vehicle is going to want to continue moving on. It's going to push. It's going to initially contact the arm and then push the arm away as it rotates the body. So yes, it's going to maintain contact until the clipping is over and the vehicle continues on.
So my next question is simply, how long do you believe the arm needs to maintain contact with the taillight after, under your theory, it breaks to produce those types of wounds that you say came from a taillight?
We don't have enough information to determine that.
Right. You don't have enough information to make that determination, do you, sir?
Correct. But we know because of the laws of physics that it has to be some amount
Please
of time.
quit cutting off
It
our
doesn't
husband.
occur instantaneously.
The hell?
So now we do apply the laws of physics to the right arm that weren't applied before because you applied a paint experiment. Is that correct? You're now applying the laws of physics to the injury to the right arm. But you didn't
No.
do that in your report.
Nope, always applied the laws of physics. The paint experiment, as you're referring to it, was to look at basically the orientation of the scratches that matched this. So that was an engineering experiment to correlate height, position of the taillight relative to height, orientation of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
You just said, sir, if I heard you correctly, you, to answer my previous question, applied the laws of physics. That's what you just said, correct?
So the laws of physics cover more than Newton's second law. There's a whole law of physics. The whole field of physics is a broad subject. So a simple measurement of height is a physical measurement.
Sir, I have your entire report in my hand, right here.
It's not Brennan.
Where in the report do you apply the law of physics to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe? Where?
So in the paint experiment we did, the laws of physics about gravity, orientation, things like that, I didn't apply Newton's second law as we already went through. But again, those simple position arm angles, the possible physical arm angles, those are all generally governed by the laws of physics. The laws of physics are very broad.
Is there some kind of like cult for slides that I don't know about? Because it feels like he's in a cult. He's way too obsessed with the slides. Have I missed something? This is Brennan's witness, but is being questioned by the defense, by Alessi, my second husband.
Sir, I'll ask it this way. Where in your 14-page report do you even mention the laws of physics related to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
So in terms of applying the laws of physics.
I'm not asking applying, just where in the report is it mentioned law of physics relative to the right arm? Can you point me to where?
Would write a report that said these are the laws of physics. I would say these are the numbers. But for example, the timing in GPS, how a clock times, the concept of a second. What does that mean? Those are all concepts of physics. So the timing, the GPS, the mileage, how we calculate the mileage, those are all based on the laws of physics.
I'm talking about injuries to the right arm.
That's not what you asked. You asked me about my whole report.
Sir, I'd be
No,
please,
he
I
didn't.
need to finish my question.
No, he
Where
didn't.
in your report do you use any laws of physics in connection with injuries to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe? Can you point me to a word or a page in your report?
Yes.
Where?
2A. 2A Roman numeral 1, 2A Roman numeral 2.
I'm sorry, I keep shaking, but I
2A
can't
Roman
stop from
numeral 3,
laughing.
2A Roman numeral number 4, 2A Roman numeral number 5.
Sir, I followed all of it, but what I'm asking about is where in all of what you just mentioned is the word right arm? I'll take what you just said. Where in 2A and all of those is the word right arm? Where is it?
Oh,
That's
sorry, to
getting
number 3.
impatient.
So let's go to 3. You state the location and
you,
orientation of the laceration on John O'Keefe's right forearm and right arm are consistent with the geometry and orientation of the right tail light of the Reed 2021 Lexus LX 570.
It's okay.
Where,
Can you read the next sentence?
I'm sorry, is it C PowerPoint slides 102, 120, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Please quit interrupting our
I want to
husband.
start with the report.
What the hell?
Did you apply any force analysis to support 3?
So in terms of the force analysis, I did not do an F equal MA analysis, but in terms of, say, the contact pattern, I obviously had to apply some force, even at 2 miles an hour, to do that.
So the answer is, what you cited, number 3, you did not use a force analysis, correct?
So force was applied to my arm in the paint test. I didn't do an F equals MA force analysis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now let's go to the horizontal movement we were talking about with regard to the car. And you can agree or disagree. I'm sorry, we'll take that down.
I cannot believe this is actually happening in
Do
real
you
life.
agree or disagree that given a horizontal movement of the car, vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent?
While our husband is asking him these questions, under his breath, he's repeating the words and looking up at the ceiling. He's like, of impact. Like, he had to have smoked something on lunch or something.
Injury pattern.
So horizontal motion generally will cause a horizontal laceration. You can get what are called stellate, which are a blunt force, and it causes a splitting of the skin as well. But
Hold on. So now you're going to say that the force of it split his skin open on his entire arm, sir, in different spots? What the hell?
generally, when the vehicle is
I know he's been,
clipping
yeah.
or running horizontal across it, it will generally cause horizontal lacerations. But when you have a fractured taillight, you can get pieces going off in other directions. So it's not necessarily going to be perfectly horizontal.
So my question is, not with clipping, you keep inserting clipping into my question.
He's not
My
a
question
physician,
is
no.
this. If you're given a horizontal movement of the car, do you agree that it's more likely than not that vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent jury pattern? Injury pattern.
I'm trying to help you, but you got to give me more. So like, is it a clipping contact or is it not a clipping contact? Is it a direct in the center of the car impact?
Okay, are there only 2 variables you
I'm
need
trying
to
to
answer the
help you.
question?
You gotta give me
This is a
more.
good start.
All right, so let me do it this way.
What's funny is that he said, I'm trying to help you, but you gotta give me more. What the hell?
You can't answer the question on a general basis of whether there's horizontal movement of a car, whether vertical lacerations would be an inconsistent injury pattern. You can't answer that question without more information. Is that your answer?
So generally, again, horizontal motion should cause horizontal lacerations. But again, it depends on what's being hit.
Okay.
So for example, if I have something that bends as a result of the impact, it could bend up and create a vertical laceration.
So you would agree, based upon what you said, that generally horizontal movement of a car would be expected to cause horizontal lacerations. Is that-
Generally.
Okay. Now, during your blue paint test, the blue paint was featured more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think it depends on the tests.
Do you want, we bring up a slide? Will that
I'd
help
love to
you?
bring up
For the
some.
love of
We're
God.
going to be running the thing, so we'll just bring one up and you tell me whether this slide works for you, sir.
Do you want me to tell you the slide I want?
If we could take a shot at it first, and
The
then we
slide
may
he
ask you
wants?
for it. But I think we've got a slide for you. And what number?
Dr. Welch,
111 is on the screen, sir. Is the blue
It's
paint
electric.
more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm? Is there more blue paint on your upper arm than your forearm?
Probably. This is the one where I actually walked sideways into the back of the car. The one where the car's moving is probably a little better representation.
Sir?
Thank
I'm
you,
just asking
Cindy.
you a question about this slide. If you
Okay,
could just focus on this slide here, and if you can't answer it, so be
Thank
it.
you.
I just answered it.
Is the blue paint featured more predominantly on your upper arm than your forearm?
It sort of looks like it. I didn't actually measure the total area of it.
Alrighty. So on direct, you stated that in order for the injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm to have been caused by an impact with the taillight, his arm would have needed to be held outstretched as you did in your demonstration, correct?
Thank you, Redbird.
You would need some degree of outstretch, yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, David.
So isn't that an example of confirmation bias?
No.
No, that's matching the contact pattern to the injuries.
But don't you have to select among other choices this outstretching of the arm? Don't you have to make that selection from among others, correct?
So that was matching the physical evidence on his arm to the physical evidence on the car, and then running a test to see if dynamically those matched up. So it's, I didn't have it hit the exhaust pipe, for example, because there was no assertion it hit the exhaust pipe. There was no damage to the exhaust pipe.
Then why do you keep bringing it
was
up?
based upon the evidence, and the testing was done to test, to use your vernacular, the hypothesis that that's where it came from.
Sir, have I ever asked you anything about a tailpipe in any of my questions today?
Yes.
I have
No,
not.
he has not.
Yes, you have. You asked
No,
about
he
the
has not.
totality of the rear of the Lexus, which includes the tailpipe.
All right. I am not going to be asking any questions that involve the taillight in any fashion.
Thank you, Denise.
So what I'd like to do is to go back to the question that I'm asking, which is, did you consider, as part of the scientific method, in terms of more than one hypothesis, did you consider in your analysis any other orientation of Mr. O'Keefe other than the one you selected for your paint test?
Yes.
And where is that consideration of other hypotheses stated in any report?
It's not. I was just looking at the damage that was up on the sheet metal.
Okay. So, are you saying that you considered other orientations of Mr. O'Keefe relative to the vehicle as part of your analysis?
Thank you,
In terms
Timmy.
of where exactly the hand would be, some slight different angles in the forearm, which is from the elbow to the hand. I did consider that, but all the physical testing is done with the hand hitting the approximate center of the taillight.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Did you look for these alternative orientations?
No, I think I just included photographs of that damage.
Thank you, Joanne.
No, you considered those other orientations. Anything right?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you consider any other locations of Mr. O'Keefe under your theory relative to the back of the SUV?
Sure. In the beginning of this, I started about, hey, it's all over, could be anywhere on the back of it. Then whittled it down based upon the evidence, started
Thank you,
eliminating
Don.
various hypotheses based upon the evidence, and came to this conclusion, eliminating hypotheses based upon the taillight fragments near his body, the lacerations, his height, the height of the taillight in a Lexus. So it was an iterative process.
Did you mention any of these supposed hypotheses in your direct testimony?
No, because I was able to reject them. I didn't come in here to tell these people what didn't happen. I came in here to tell them what I believe happened.
But you agree, sir, that the scientific method earlier has the scientists identify various hypotheses, go with the data that supports it, but you show your math as to why you're rejecting hypotheses. As you said, you rejected them. I'm asking for proof that you considered other hypotheses. Do you have anything in writing, any notes at all, any videos, any tests that you did, documentation of other hypotheses other than picking this one? Do you have any documentation of that?
So I did a bunch of tests with the Lexus. I did backing tests. I looked at how the rear system worked to see if it would autonomously brake. I confirmed it did not. So I eliminated that as a hypothesis. I tested the steering. I tested the transmission, what 1, 2 represented. So I did a whole bunch of tests on the vehicle.
I understand you say you did a bunch of tests on the vehicle. My question is, did you
It's not a Lexus, it's Calgon. Calgon, take me away, remember?
ever take the vehicle and position yourself or anybody else in various locations to determine whether or not your hypotheses could be properly rejected? Do you have any documentation that you did that?
I mean, I did do
Want to get away?
1 static and 2 dynamic tests in very similar positions, though. So I did a total of 3 tests relative to the arm.
Where is the documentation for that, sir?
It's in the file. I gave it to you. Some of the slides are some of it.
All right, so Mr. Alessi, I think if we're gonna,
I am, and I'm going to move on, Your Honor.
So
okay, but Mr. Alessi, hold on, we're gonna do that voir dire.
Can I ask? I don't-
They're doing a voir dire
other
again.
Area, Your Honor, I can do it in short order if I could,
Okay.
please.
I wasn't finished my
Go ahead, finish your answer.
So slides 109, 110, 111, actually through, I guess, 121 deal with the testing of the hypothesis.
We'll come back to this at another time, Dr. Welcher. So what I want to do is to finish up on this point. So is it your testimony that no part of what you did in selecting this area, no part of it is confirmation bias? You say there's no confirmation bias at all in what you did. Is that your testimony?
That's certainly my goal. I try and eliminate all confirmational bias. I didn't start out at this particular location. This is where the physical evidence led me to. So I would say the conclusions are supported by the science.
My question
This said by the guy that said it could have went to space.
is, did you engage in any confirmation, and this will be my last question, did
The
you
answer is no.
engage in any confirmation bias in terms of how you approach the issue that you have testified about in written reports?
The answer is still no.
It's a good
All right,
commitment.
so, okay, thank you. All right, so jurors, we're going to send you home because we still have work to do here. We don't need you waiting here while we do this. So, tomorrow is a half day.
Don't go anywhere because they're doing their voir dire.
Hopefully that half day ends, but we won't be here until, we won't go
Thank
until
you.
tomorrow.
It's my opinion it's my opinion he's aggressive because he feels like he was attacked because somebody's questioning his science.
See here or read need
Oops.
anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. Fourth admonition, please be very careful with your social media.
Is tomorrow a
use.
half day? Why? Now you guys understand why this trial takes so long? Look at all the early times they leave, the breaks they take, and the half days. Think about that. Don't go anywhere, guys, because they're going to do their voir dire hearing. They can't do that in front of the jury.
Right. Okay, Mr. Alessi, it's your voir dire.
I don't know why they do half days.
Yes.
Can I load up my slides?
Yeah.
He just asked to look at his slides again.
Can you do that while you're sitting here answering questions? Yes.
I feel like he's the guy that has to make sure that the slides that are in his backyard is the biggest one around.
Okay. And we're on a very limited schedule here.
Okay, Your Honor. Mr. Wilk, with Your Honor's permission, if we could pull up
Thank you,
the
Lucid.
January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint of Dr. Welcher in slide 36. You see that, Dr. Welcher?
For those of you that wanted to know what that was, it's a legal term that means to speak the truth. It refers to the jury selection process in which the attorneys and sometimes the judge questions prospective jurors to determine their suitability and impartiality. That makes no sense, though. Okay, this one here says, it is a legal term for procedures during a trial to help a judge decide certain issues.
Welcher, do you recall that from your January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint?
I thought I had replaced the video on the left-hand side by the time I produced
Sir,
it.
I got to
don't
go through
recall
this
that.
quickly. That image is a drone image on the left, correct?
Oh, correct.
And you had that in your original report, but you removed it in subsequent reports, correct?
Correct.
Where did you get that drone image from?
It was in the file.
Wasn't it in the CARS report of Trooper Paul?
I believe it was.
So you took that drone image from the CARS report of Trooper Paul, correct?
Correct.
Let's, if we could, Mr. Woke, go to diagram 1. Do we have that electronically of Trooper Paul's report? Do you recognize that as diagram 1?
Hi, Allison.
from
Thank
Trooper
you.
Paul's report?
Yes.
So, and that's the diagram that you took that image and you put it in your January 30th, 2025 PowerPoint, correct?
Pulling up my version of PowerPoint.
No. Proctor has not been called.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, if we could take that down, I'm gonna go to the next example. We could go to Dr. Welcher.
I'm sorry, actually, can we go back to that?
Yes. With, Your Honor, why do we,
Well,
I have limited, go ahead.
so that particular diagram I did not use. If you notice, the diagram I used has different cars and doesn't have all the writing about the position of things on it.
I am going to, now, Your Honor, have to take the time to go to Trooper Paul's report. We have the hard copy of Trooper Paul's.
Could you turn the lights on, please?
Right. Because it's a voir dire hearing. They dismiss the jury for everything.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
The juror is they're dismissed for the day.
This is, may I approach the witness? Excuse me, Dr. Welcher. You see this first page, do you recognize this
I
as
do
the
too.
cover page for the Trooper Paul report that I was referring to?
Something show the signature.
Yeah, essentially they're fighting over what could be said.
There is a signature on the report.
Signature block right here.
Hi, yeah, it's been a while. How are you?
16.
Can I have that?
Yes. Okay. Welcome.
Now,
Slide
what I'm gonna
bars.
do
Oh God.
is to go to diagram 1, and if I could, Your Honor, republish what was just up. I'm showing you diagram 1, sir, and I'm asking you, is that the image from Trooper Paul's report that you then used to put into your January 30th slide presentation?
No. See all the writing on here with the glass cup, all the dimensions here. Here's my January 30th one. None of that stuff's here. There's different. None of this stuff is here.
Isn't it the case
Thank you.
that this is crop more and there's a larger picture?
Okay,
of the
Laura,
same
have a good
image
day.
or not?
See
Thank
this
you.
tree?
Yes.
See these trees?
Yes.
See all these measurements by the trees? All
Yes.
these? That's right here.
Okay.
Those do not show up on my image.
Let me go to a different method then to do this. You have an image. Can we go, Mr. Wolf, to the January 30th presentation?
Slide 36.
Correct. Where did you get that image from that's in your PowerPoint presentation on the left?
I think it was from the
Thank
file.
you.
Satellite image from the file.
What part of the file, sir?
I actually don't know at this time.
How close is the image on diagram 1, the drone image,
Yes,
to
somewhere.
the image that you can't now recall where you got it from for your slide presentation? Are they similar?
So that one has a whole bunch of measurements and ID on it, but the underlying image is very similar. It's probably the same one.
Yes. You're welcome. Do you know of any other place you could have, let's put the presentation back up on the slide presentation. Do you know of any other location other than Trooper Paul's report that you could have got that drone image from?
No, I'm not sure I got it from the report. I recall getting it from the file.
My question is, do you know of any other source other than Trooper Paul's report that you could have gotten that drone image from?
So this image is not in that report.
It's not
Yes, it is. You asked me anything but the report. That image is not in that report.
Did you get the drone image from any file from the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes.
Okay. Did Trooper Paul work on any drone images to your knowledge with respect to 34 Fairview?
I don't know.
But you would agree that the drone images are from the Massachusetts State Police file, correct?
Give me 1 second.
Your son has a bulged disc in his neck? Gosh, I hope he feels better quick. I'll say some
So
prayers
let me
for
know
him.
you've had a fair opportunity to answer that question.
Yeah, give me a second.
Good question, Jess.
Yes, it came in a file called cars-trp.jopal.
Okay, so it came, and that's the report of Trooper Poll, correct?
No,
Gina.
these are drone images that are not in the report.
No, I'm saying what you just read. Can you repeat it again, what you just read, where it came from?
I read you a folder
Yes.
that contains a bunch of things, including the report.
Understood.
That image is not in his report.
Can you read the file name again that you just read?
The folder name
Yes.
is
Jesus with this guy.
cars-trp.jopal.
Okay. And did you get the drone image from that file folder?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now let's go on
Oh.
to the May 26, 2025 PowerPoint that you created. And I'd like to go to slides 25, 26,
Isn't it, though?
and 27.
I can't believe that this is actually a justice system and that this is actually happening in a justice system and this isn't a movie.
Have you discussed with anybody today at all
I agree.
the source of what is depicted up on this slide?
No.
Okay, so let's now go to where did you
Sorry.
get
Big yawn.
the?
Thank you.
You see the larger chart to the left there in the looks like mostly a rectangle. Do you see that, sir?
What slide are you on? What slide is that?
25.
This dude is slide
Okay,
obsessed.
and then
Get
if we could
over
flip
it.
to 26 because it looks like it's the
What-
same. If
I
we
missed
go
a
to
question.
26 and 27, looks like it's the same one. You tell me.
Similar.
Similar, okay.
Yeah.
And
But you guys got to remember, this is the honorable judge. She got Person of the Year just the other day from the Bar Association. So there's no way she could be doing something wrong.
27,
Correct.
see the same or similar one there. Okay.
These are all from Google Maps.
Well, my question is.
Yes, Jess. I love that. It really is, Cindy.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me show you. Hold
Let
on.
me ask you this so I don't keep going back and forth. Do you have access, sir, to the cars report of Trooper Poll on your computer?
Think so? You remember the name of it?
I don't. We'll do it there with a hard copy. Mr. President, I'd like to- Thank you. So, if I could approach, Your Honor?
Yep.
So you see what I'm pointing to right here, which is page 10 of Trooper Paul's cars report. Do you see that?
Is this the same report dated 1/29/2022?
I believe so, sir. Let me just take a. This is, you can just compare this to the one I have in my hand.
This is not in front of the jury.
For any
This is a
identification,
voir dire.
Right? We got the same one.
Yeah, mine's broken.
Okay,
So let's just pick.
okay. So you have that report, and I now am referencing page 10 of that report, and I'm looking at the chart on page 10. Is that chart on page 10 the same or substantially the same as the chart that is up on your slide presentation right now?
So it, not the same. I did not use this data at all, but we both use Google Maps.
Okay.
They're arguing over certain evidence being brought in. That's why it's not in front of the jury. You're damn right us group of women that listen to True Crime. Yes, we 100% could have. 100%.
All right.
What the court reporters, that's how they record now. They speak it into, what the hell is the name of that thing again, you guys? Stenographer? The thing that she's speaking into it to type.
Now let's go to
The jury is not in there.
You're continuing
Dictaphone,
on the
thank
same
you.
slide. If Mr. Woke, we could go to slides 22 and 23.
No idea, Teresa.
And this will be the last on this, Mr. Lessie. If you want to get to the autopsy photo, we're wrapping this all up at 4:10.
Okay, Your Honor.
I've never seen any other judge rush people like this.
see
This
these
is
photos?
ridiculous.
I'm sorry,
You see the photos that are up on that,
I do.
okay? Do you, in terms of those photos, do you recognize any aspect of those photos?
Yes.
What do you recognize in terms of the person in it?
Oh. You want me to limit it to just these 3 photos?
Any photo that would be, this photo or any photo similar to it. But let's start with just these 3.
Me either.
If I have to limit it to these 3, I don't know who that is.
Okay, and if you don't limit it to those 3, who would you conclude it is in those photos?
It appeared to be Trooper Paul from other photos.
Okay, so you can tell from other photos that this is Trooper Paul in these photos, correct?
I have photos of Trooper Paul in the car. I don't know that someone else switched out. I have no reason to believe this isn't anybody but Trooper Paul.
Okay. Would you have any understanding that there's any other trooper that would be doing this type of analysis other than Trooper Paul?
Someone else took the photographs?
No, I'm talking inside the vehicle.
I'm sorry?
Inside the vehicle doing what's depicted here.
Someone's inside the vehicle taking the photograph.
What's your best conclusion as to who that is?
Trooper Paul.
Thank you. Your Honor, that is,
Okay, so next topic.
yes,
Go right
thank you,
ahead.
and I just need to reload, if you will, with regard to that topic.
You guys ever notice on this trial how the jury has not seen the autopsy photos? All we've seen is basically the arm marks. Got to be ready to pull the screen down. It's like pulling the deepest rooted tooth in existence, yes.
Okay,
If you can go, Mr. Woke, to slide 131.
TikTok, what in the world is wrong with what I'm doing now? Seriously? Seriously. TikTok. Pay better attention. Got reported again.
Of Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint presentation. And it's now 132. I don't believe that's the right one. It's the,
One before that.
yeah, I think you're, yeah, okay. So this is slide 131 from your slide presentation, correct, sir?
Correct.
And if you look to the
No, that's
far
nothing.
right, I'm sorry, Mr. Woke, you go to the other one. Yes, that one, and scroll down so we can see what's in green.
Yes, same guy.
For that depiction, that is from Dr. Scorty Bellows' autopsy report.
They're doing this without the jury because they're fighting over evidence that's being brought in. So in order for them to reach a conclusion one way or another, they have to have this without the jury around.
Page 3, correct? Is that where you got that from?
It's from the report. Take your word for it on page 3.
So, but it is from Dr. Scorty Bellows' autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you could go to, if we could zoom back out and go to the multicolored image in the center.
I'm
Up
a
at
couple
the top.
minutes behind.
Yep, I got it. Yep, got it. Thank you. If you can go to the very top line, it says autopsy report performed by Irene Scorty Bello, MD, PhD. If you could scroll back over, date of autopsy, January 31, 2022, and then you see final diagnoses. That is all directly from the autopsy report, is it not, sir?
Yes.
And that is in your slide presentation, correct, sir? This is page 131 of your slide presentation, correct?
Correct.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
okay. You are all set, Doctor?
Thank you, Ron.
All right. Did you have any questions, Mr. Brennan?
If it'd be helpful to the board, I have a couple quickly.
Okay.
Can I keep under 2 minutes?
Why did you let Brennan talk? Why? Why did you give him the opportunity? Hank, just sit down.
Dr. Welcher, you were shown a photograph of the street of Fairview Road. Did you know that didn't come from Trooper Paul? It came from the CERT report, and Trooper Paul then took it from the CERT report and put it in separately in his presentation?
And I don't know if you guys, I saw someone say, what are we going to do after this trial? I don't just cover this trial. I cover many trials. I'm a true crime junkie.
Do you know that?
I had no idea. I just was given it as a folder.
And the photo you were using, it didn't have the markings that Trooper Paul put on his report, did it?
It did not.
When you used that photo, was it because you were borrowing, relying on, or using any of Trooper Paul's reports for your conclusions or any of your decisions or analysis in this case?
I did not use his report
It
at all.
was simply limited to the use of the photo to show a different demonstrative issue.
Correct.
Yeah,
And then
next
when you
week.
saw diagram 1, again, that was different than what was used in Trooper Paul's report because it had absent in it all the writing. Isn't that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Did you rely on Trooper Paul's analysis or conclusions in this case for your conclusions and your analysis?
Not at all.
Is that why you went and downloaded the information and looked at the car and did everything individually, separately, and uniquely from Trooper Paul?
I wanted it to be independent in my analysis.
Regarding Dr. Scotabello, did you ever consider her conclusions regarding manner or cause of death as a basis for your analysis and conclusions?
Yes.
And when you considered her analysis, did you consider the conclusion of undetermined cause of death? Was that part of your analysis?
Oh, no. I was using like the skull fractures, the description of the injuries.
So you were considering the information in her autopsy report?
Correct.
How about her conclusions? Did you rely on her conclusions to do your studies or any analysis in this case as far as cause of death or manner of death?
Only I thought I said blunt force trauma and hypothermia.
Okay. Regarding her
Right, Rodney.
conclusions about whether this was caused by a car accident or not, did you consider that as a basis of your opinion?
No, I wouldn't take a person like that's opinion for that.
Did you ever have a conversation
What
with
kind of
Dr. Scotabello about her
I wouldn't take a person like that's opinion. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
expertise limitations?
No, I would want a biomechanical analysis.
Was your opinion regarding the collision in this case, did it have anything to do whatsoever with Dr. Scotabello's conclusions regarding cause of death, whether it was accident, undetermined, or homicide?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Your Honor.
All right, one question, can we just wrap it up? I'd like to hear you argue, but we don't have time, so I'm just gonna,
I have
decision.
two questions, Your Honor. You put in your slide presentation information from the autopsy report of Dr. Scotabello for a reason, correct, sir? And that reason is because you considered the autopsy report as part of your analysis, correct?
So I considered portions, which are the portions I included here for the autopsy report.
And part of those
Unless he's not
considerations were the
disrespectful.
final diagnoses. We can put that back up, Mr. Woke.
That's one thing about Alessi. He's a perfect gentleman at all times.
But you recall the slide that you had has the final diagnoses of Dr. Scotabello, and you put that in your slide presentation because you considered that as part of your analysis, else it wouldn't be in there, correct?
So the final diagnosis is in there. There's a line, then it says cause of death, and then manner of death.
Right.
The things I highlighted are the things I thought were important. So the highlighting on slide 130.
Welcome back.
So the final diagnosis, again, does not include cause of death. It does not include manner of death. There's that horizontal line demarcating those. The important things that I was looking at are the under or highlighted, which is why I highlighted them.
Exactly. So the ones that you highlighted, you considered are from the autopsy report. That's why you're highlighting them, right, sir? You considered them.
Correct.
Thank you. No
You're welcome.
questions, Your Honor. I
All right.
appreciate that opportunity.
So I'm not gonna let you argue now, I'll hear you very briefly but tomorrow before we stop. But Mr. Lessie, how much longer are you going to be tomorrow?
If I could have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
After how long it took the state, you're really going to keep pushing him like that? That is so disrespectful. How is this? A quick catch up. Well, we know that Lexuses can end up in space, according to the witness. We know that the Commonwealth is paying this witness $400,000.
Tomorrow, if we can get some things quicker, I would like to do that, but given today, that's my best estimate.
So we're half a day tomorrow.
Yeah, it really is. I would love to know where
So
she's
it
got to
may be
be.
that we have a 20-minute break tomorrow.
Aperture, yes,
And
thank
we'll
you.
finish up by 1:30 by going straight through. We've got a juror who has an appointment that we told her she'd be able to make. So I'd like to do everything we can so that Dr. Welcher doesn't have to come back or stay here another day. So let's just see what we can do, and we will do the same thing for your experts as well.
No, I understand, Your Honor, and I respect everything that Your Honor is saying. I must say, Your Honor, to state the obvious, this is a key aspect of the case, and we've got to be able to proceed through to the question. He covered a lot on his direct, and we need proper.
And I'm not asking you to curb it, I'm just hoping that we can do it. So I will ask you tomorrow at a certain time to see whether we're able to do it with the 20-minute break and finish.
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll give you my answer is that that's the point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
Thank you, Dr. Welch.
And there you have it, guys. That's that. Why in the hell does she always have to leave at 4 o'clock every day? I thought courts at least went to 5. Yes, tomorrow's a half a day because they promised a juror that she could go to an appointment. And yes, they did start late today. Thank you. They did start late. I've got nothing else to say. I feel like I should be saying a lot, but I can't put words to. Yeah, and they're coming off a 5-day weekend. You know, did it ever cross her mind that if she would have tried to hurry along Brennan at any point in time, even once, it would shorten the amount of time it would have taken for the defense as well? We're going to be, except we have one problem for Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I have a virtual doctor's appointment at 11. So we're going to have to redo next Tuesday's time frame. I'm probably going to be about a half hour to 45 minutes. The start today, it started with Hank asking questions. Am I missing something? The defense was reprimanded? What am I missing? Hold on. Let's figure it out.
Based on the application of reliable scientific methodology. The problem here is not that the opinion concerns the ultimate issue, because in Massachusetts, that's not a bar to admissibility.
Thank you.
Rather, it is that Dr. Welcher, the expert, is drawing an inference based upon more than scientific method. His opinions set the stage for argument and a permissible inference to be drawn by jurors through the application of their sound judgment to the opinions that they find credible. But the jurors are as well positioned to draw or reject the inference as is the expert. This
is about yesterday, how Hank was asking questions, and he got him to say that John O'Keefe died because he was hit by a car. That's what this is about, because you can't do that. It is up to the jury to decide. So for the outright state that, that's not something you do.
The inference is not compelled by the application of any scientific method. So that's the ruling. All right, so the jurors are lining up. We should have them momentarily.
Thank you for the late call today.
Okay.
That was the opening.
Is Dr. Welcher right around? Why don't we bring him in if he's here before the jurors?
arguments for Dr. Welcher, and I completely understand why. He's put on a lot of stunts. A lot of stunts. There's a lot that he should be ashamed of, in my opinion. A lot.
Updated version, we provided a copy to the defense with all the redactions.
Okay.
The
Are you in agreement with this, Mr. Alessi?
I haven't gone through it, but I have no reason to be in agreement, so I'm
Okay.
just go with anything else.
there is one slide, so I'll admit it, conditional redactions that you didn't rule on, but I feel as though
No.
you probably will exclude, and that is in that version. I didn't want to pull it out with the court's order, but I'll talk to.
Do you know the number? You don't have to find it if you don't.
131.
Oh, was it 131 yesterday too?
It was.
So at sidebar, I said we could go back to that, and Mr. Alessi agreed that we could go back to that. So, and I know I thought we were starting there, and I think Dr. Welcher thought we were starting there, and then you went to 132. That was my understanding at sidebar.
It is, but such as me being able to object, I was basically, because we wanted the jury to come in, so I want to look at the slide.
Okay, so look at it again. That's not my understanding, Mr. Alessi. It was you were concerned just about the heading, and then I said we'd go back to both slides.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
no,
they've
I'm
hired
okay
new
with that.
experts.
That one, yes, Your Honor is correct.
He was hired
Yeah,
8 months ago.
And we were going to start on that, but you thought because I struck it based on the objection, but then at sidebar, I said we could go back to that. That's your understanding too.
And I'm sure that Dr. Welcher took off the heading on 131.
I think he did, but because I think he took off from 124 to 1.
I did.
Okay. Are they out there, Paul? Okay, thank you.
There you have it. That's everything before the jury walks in. So, go try to enjoy the rest of your night. Go try to de-stress. Just don't, whatever you do, don't go up to space. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. I still can't believe he said that. I agree with you. They did hire who they thought would give them the answer they wanted to hear, and it's backfired every time. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning. We will start around 10:30, 11 Central Standard Time. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Stay safe out there, and thank you guys so much. Bye, guys.